Welcome back to the Sportsball Podcast, your source for sports. I am your host, Andy, joined by my co-hosts, Nate and Zach. And Nate is back with us this week after taking some due diligent bye week time, along with his other favorite teams that also had bye weeks this past week. So he just said, I don't need to talk about sports with these guys. I'm just going to go on a bye week when my other favorite teams go on a bye week.
He took a week.
It was the bye week. I had some things to work on with my takes from early in the season. Watched some film on that. We're coming back for the second half of the season here, stronger than ever. So
we all know it was so you could book your Super Bowl ticket for the Vikings this year. Come on now, don't be lying.
They conveniently went on sale when you said that you couldn't record. Very interesting.
There's really no way to know, though.
I think Nate might have seen the script. I mean, obviously, we're not even starting with NFL tonight. But like, dang, he saw the script.
You might have saw the script early.
Look, all I'm saying is that the streets are saying. I happen to listen to the streets.
That could be dangerous, Nate. You gotta be really careful with that.
Nah. They 100% always know what they're talking about. Never failed me this far.
He's got a point there. I mean, we don't have any validity to either confirm or deny these claims either.
What are you talking about? Last I checked, we were the #1 podcast for sports on like Spotify and stuff. And I did not make that stat up. So
please do not Google it.
But there's really no way to know.
There really isn't.
There really is not. With that, we'll start off with postseason MLB baseball first. And we got our 4 finalists for our teams left. So the Guardians and Yankees in the ALCS, and then you have the Mets and Dodgers playing in the NLCS right now. That Dodgers-Mets series tied up 1-1. Yankees went up 2-0 last night. So, unfortunately, the Yankees might get to the World Series that everybody hates. So the Mets really need to do this cool thing and win, so we don't have a Dodgers-Yankees World Series that everybody wants so badly.
Define everybody.
People in New York and LA, and that's about it.
People that like to throw trash on the fields.
Yeah. Those are Dodgers fans.
It's a real tragedy that 50% of the teams in going for the World Series kind of sucks. So
yeah. It's,
objectively, they're kind of not bad at the sport, I guess. But
again, it should be criminal to what the Dodgers get away with their payroll and how they pay the literal best player in the world only $2 million to play for their team. So MLB should fix that so that they can stop cheating and then stop getting every other good player on their payroll because Shohei deferred all of his money, but neither here nor there. I mean, so far the championship games have not been close. We haven't had any electric endings like we did in the ALDS or NLDS games at all.
And that's been a real bummer, if we're being honest.
Yeah. So not really much to say outside of don't cheer for the Dodgers or Yankees. That's really about it for my baseball takes of what's happened so far. I'm not enjoying how it's playing out. No, to put it lightly.
I mean, depending on how fast they play, we could. Well, I said this I think in our text group yesterday too. I was like, this could be breaking news as we're recording while Game 3 is going on between the Dodgers and the Mets, but it won't be breaking news because by the time this releases, everybody will know. And in fact, I'm pretty sure there's a chance at that point the games will be over anyway. So
at the rate that they're going, especially the Guardians and Yankees, yes, they very much could be. That series could be done by the time this comes out. If the Yankees,
it's looking like it might be.
Yeah. The Guardians got there, and then they just decided not to do anything more the past 2 games.
Well, we made it as far as we can go.
Yeah.
It's literally they literally did the Patrick meme. Well, I've done all I can do.
You do. That's yeah. And I'm just hoping that the Mets have that weird voodoo run that they've had with Grimace so far and just keep on going the rest of the way. Just keep riding that high.
That whole story is just amazing too.
I think that's the only thing keeping them aloft right now. And as long as it is, I'm going to keep riding that high and cheer for the Mets.
I mean, it's a fantastic story. You can't go wrong with it.
No.
I would
Weird.
say
Don't get me
Mets
wrong.
beating the Yankees in the World Series would at least be a fun outcome.
You have all of New York in shambles.
Yeah, I was gonna say you'd have a bunch of New Yorkers confused, be like, what do I do? And I mean, I'm sure it's similar to like how the two different baseball teams in Chicago, there's very much a distinct difference between, where you come from in the city and whatnot, but still.
And one
would
of the
just be
teams
funny.
plays baseball and the other doesn't. But
Yeah.
That's specific to this year. I'm saying in the general sense of, the MLB. Got to admit though, at the end of the season tweets that were coming out from the White Sox media department, the other team scored more than we did. We're just chef's kiss. They were perfect. You almost feel bad for them, but then you're like, nah.
Admin broke laptop, couldn't post the final score.
Too good.
they were truly America's team down the stretch.
I like when social media teams play into the bits of how good or bad their teams are and just they ride it. Like I obviously I don't like the Chargers, but like their social media team is incredible of what they do. They are class master trollers.
You know what? I blame Wendy's for all this. I feel like Wendy's was the first like business where it probably wasn't, but I feel like Wendy's where stupid stuff like that really took off and everybody's like, oh, that's what the internet wants, which yeah, kind of, but also like, silence brand.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
Which actually begs the question: have either of you tried the Krabby Patty meal at Wendy's
I've
yet?
been
Negative.
debating it.
I've been scared.
I've heard it's just like a.
It's probably just like a regular burger.
Yeah,
their
it
regular
has like
burger
a
with,
secret
like-
sauce on it, but that's about all they.
The Krabby
Goes
Patty
into
secret formula.
Someone made it sound like it was like Thousand Island or something on it. So, I mean, it still sounds good. Like I like Wendy's. Hot take maybe, but I do like Wendy's. But I'm not going. I have to drive either 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and I'm not going there just specifically for Wendy's. That
Or
seems
you
a little
could.
ridiculous.
Do it for the bit.
Do it. No, thank you. No, thank you. All right. Are we good on
Yeah,
baseball?
my only other MLB news is that the Twins owners might be selling the team.
Oh, yeah.
so-
Oh, I guess that was kind of big news.
We're gonna start a Patreon or a Kickstarter.
Yep.
So if you guys want to subscribe and donate to the Sportsball Patreon Kickstarter to help the boys buy a baseball team, we only need a small loan of about $6 billion.
Yes.
Is that what the
yes.
final number is? Is 6 billion?
It's around there or more.
Probably,
Oh.
yeah.
Well, luckily, we have
pocket
the
change
greatest
for
fans
most,
in the
so,
world.
Yeah.
Like I said, just a very.
we're looking at you, Runza.
If you want to see us three try to manage a baseball franchise, be our guest. We will do something.
Right.
As evidenced by our incredibly detailed bits on the MLB.
Try is the key word there. I don't know. I think we'd be all
really
right.
the only suitable option.
I mean, we would probably maybe do better than the White Sox. So,
It's not a 5 bar to set, but we could sure try.
and hey, by the way, if we were to we would be owners, like we would have ownership stake. We wouldn't necessarily be like coaching. So like we would have to hire the coaches and stuff. But like if things went decently well, it'd be like, we're good. Like, okay. I don't think anybody would really ask too many questions.
No.
They might ask what are our credentials, and we'd just be like, we have a podcast.
Yeah.
Sold.
That's really all you need
I'm
to know.
occasionally funny.
I can tell
Are
a
we
mean
sold
joke.
yet?
One in every 10 joke that I tell actually lands really well. I like that. All right. MLB
Yes,
is
we'll
exciting.
get that link out to everybody soon, so you can start donating to let us buy the Twins.
Yes,
So
Actually, please do
and
that
if we
because I
wanted to
need
up
to
the
eat.
number to 7 billion, maybe entice a certain person who's deferring their payroll with another team and give it to them up front.
Yeah, that's another guarantee. We would get one of the greatest baseball players of our generation right now to come play for the Twins instead. So
exactly.
We will. Well, so hold on a second. Time out. I don't disagree. I like the plan. Although I'm pretty sure there's this thing called a cost cap that might hinder us from doing too much with that.
Not if you have enough money.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would just have to be like backdoor business deals, which I don't think is frowned upon in
Not if
in
you
professional
have
sports.
enough.
That's what I mean. I'm just saying. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, we obviously Shohei has no issues with gambling money, so why would he have issue with taking more
That
money
wasn't
to gamble?
him. That wasn't him that was doing it.
It wasn't him.
Yeah, that one.
Hey, we're trying
Allegedly.
to get him to our team when we take over as owner. That wasn't him. We know
Well,
it wasn't him.
when he joins our team, we will give him free rights to gamble all he wants.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. Just don't bet. Just don't bet on sports. Just don't bet on baseball.
That's how ownership powers work, right?
Yes. Yes. I haven't seen a rule book that says it doesn't, so
that's a good point. So there's really no way to
show me the Carfax.
Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna probably be the realist here and say there's a reason that we don't know where that rule book is. It turns out we're not billionaires. So
it's because we don't own the team yet.
Good point. Good point.
I'll slide to Mark Cuban's DMs and be like,
they give you the book after you buy the team. That's the rite of passage.
Do they give it to you, or do they just like hit you with it? Like, here you go, and then all of a sudden, like you're imbued all the knowledge.
It's like the employee handbook that you get on day one. It's just like that. You have to be hired first.
It's like in SpongeBob. People order our patties. You watch instructional video.
Yeah. People order our patties.
People order. All right. Let's get back. Well, this is a serious show. Let's get back onto the sports, guys.
Again, if you want to donate, just let us know and we'll provide the link to you so you can give us a small loan of $6 billion.
7.
Okay, yes. Sorry, $7 billion. The extra
we need a little fluff.
The extra $1 billion to renovate the stadium, get our names on the stadium, our faces everywhere, get the payroll in, coaches, players, all that sort of thing.
Actually, that reminds me. There was another news. The hurricane, was it Milton that went through Florida that tore up Tampa Bay's their baseball stadium? So I'm just saying they don't. As of right now, they said renovations are going to take really long. So right now, the Tampa Bay team does not have a baseball stadium to play in. Just saying, sounds like Oakland could be a really good landing spot for them to play.
The Bay that's not occupied
thing.
Bring back the Oakland Rays, baby.
There's a certain stadium in the Bay Area that is unoccupied now. Not going to say who, but just somebody.
The best part is that as soon as the entire as soon as people were like, oh, they have nowhere to currently play in 2025 because of renovations and whatnot, everybody immediately is just like, guys, go to Oakland.
I did see actually Omaha was a possible landing spot or a rumored landing spot.
Yeah, can't wait for the Tampa Bay Omahas. We operate out of Tampa Bay, but we're called the Omahas.
I see no problems.
I mean, it might be a little confusing.
Nah.
I mean, we host the CWS. Why not just bring in an MLB team? Not exactly. But
Well,
No, we could do
We
that.
could
with a
certainly
small
take over.
loan of $7 billion.
All right.
Well, that loan just went up to $8 million.
Another team, so we're gonna have two separate links for $7 billion,
Okay, yes.
and we're just gonna buy two MLB teams. That's it.
Small goals, but we appreciate you, the listener, helping us achieve our dreams here. So
Yes.
I will say this: we've spent the first 15 minutes of us recording right now talking about how genius business moguls we are. So anybody that donates money to us knows they're getting a great investment. I love it.
Yes, and there's no reason to question that.
Mark Cuban
None.
would be proud. I don't see the difference here.
So we're landing on the MLB though. Go Mets and go Guardians. Even though the Guardians look like they got a pretty big uphill battle to climb. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, yeah. So as Andy said, please donate to us because owning an MLB team would be super cool, and we'd be real good at
And
it.
owning
promise you
two
guys.
would be even cooler.
What's better than owning one? Owning two.
Two giant big bubbles.
Honestly, I feel like this could work perfectly. So,
All right, on to NHL. Our teams suck.
Well, Nate's doesn't. Nate's playing okay.
Yeah.
3 games in, and it's not going well for most of us.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I guess I watched the Nashville Predators last night. And it's funny because I'm looking at the standings right now, Andy, and technically because of just like the different points against and whatnot,
Right.
Colorado is below Nashville, and they're both 0-3 with 0 points on the year. But it's because it's because of your point differential, I assume. So it's like, dang, that's not great, not great. But yeah, apparently, in other news though, the Minnesota Wild decided, hey, they haven't lost a game yet. They've gone to overtime. Overtime losses. But they have 6 points, and they're third in the West. They're third in the Central Division in the West. So, start watching more hockey. Nate.
Apparently, Minnesota professional sports teams just decided that the 24-25 season was going to be a championship for every team. So,
it's only gonna end so well, right?
yeah. No way it could end poorly. Has never ended poorly in the past. And I look forward to hanging so many banners that I get bored of it.
Oh,
There's a hot take. A bold hot take, I might add, but a hot take nonetheless.
that's quite the statement there.
Yeah, the streets are saying.
There we go.
I mean, we didn't really cover too much of it, but we can now that the NHL season has officially started. Is that Utah, the Utah Hockey Club?
Yes.
First of all, has to stay that forever, just because
but I wanted to.
It won't, and it's going to be something stupid. I mean, my vote still goes to be the Utah Super Soakers, but
100%.
that's beside the point.
That's the only correct answer.
But I will say, after just watch, I mean, granted, we're only 4 games in. Hockey's a long season, similar to basketball. So who knows where this goes? But Utah looks good. Like, they look really good. And the other team that I looked at that I had no idea, me in my infinite knowledge of knowing everything about hockey, obviously, is I thought New Jersey was like a really bad team last year. I guess I don't know if they were, but then apparently this year they're like, oh, hey, we don't suck anymore. Like, they've been really good too. So, but
the good news is that Nashville and Colorado are the only 2 teams without points so far this season. So,
thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Thanks for the reminder. As much as I didn't want to,
it's only up from here.
As much as I didn't want to, I only did watch I only got to see 2 of the first 3 games for Nashville, and they play again on Thursday. We're recording this on a Wednesday. Yeah. So they play tomorrow as of this recording. But I was gonna delve deep into a little bit NHL, just so that anybody that really, really wants to hear our NHL takes can be like, these guys don't know nothing, but they can laugh at us. Comedy is the best thing
We
in the world.
know everything.
Yes.
Correct. For MLB, we know everything, so we can own those teams. But for NHL,
Yes.
we're still learning. That's fair. But yeah, the weird thing, starting with Nashville, and I'll try to keep it brief. Just again, it's only 3 games. It'll be 4 soon, but like, it's tough to say just because the beginning of the year they got quite a lot of new faces. So the offensive side of the ice, or whatever they call it specifically, like they've looked really good offensively for the most part. There's been a couple like slow starts, but they have they take a lot of shots. They've got a lot of chances. They just are the unluckiest team I've ever watched right now, because half the time it hits the post. In the first game against Dallas, I think they had 8 that hit the post. That could be an exaggeration, but it seemed like every other one that they were shooting that was close to going in would ding. It was just doink city. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's one of those things where I think they'll mesh eventually, but it's just going to take a little bit of time. And unfortunately, 0-3 is how it begins. But I guess I went back and looked at last year, and they started 1-3 and then wound up in the, not necessarily a deep playoff run, but they wound up in the playoffs. So hockey, I don't know exactly, like, you know how like in football, after about like week 5 or 6, you kind of know who's who in the NFL or in college. Basketball, you get to about the All-Star break, and then you're like, okay, we know who these people are, maybe a little before that. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is for NHL too, in terms of like the All-Star break, but I don't know if it's like give it a month or 2 and then all of a sudden, oh, okay, now these teams have started clicking. But that's Nashville. Yay.
Yeah, it's Colorado just needs to figure out its goalie situation. They've allowed the most goals through 3 games so far, so it's not great. The defense back line is also not fantastic either. So, and it's very early, like you said, Zach. There's a long way to go through the season, and a slow start isn't necessarily meaning that the season's going to be horrendous the rest of the way, but it's not like ideal for your hope or confidence either going forward. But we'll see what the Avs do. I'm sure they'll pick it up at some point. It's just hopefully sooner rather than the later.
Yeah, and we'll have obviously more to talk about as the season goes on too.
Yes.
It just started, so I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about yet, but
it's a very small sample size.
I am going to say this might be a hot take, Andy, but figuring out the goalie situation for a hockey team seems like it might be a key thing.
It's more of a key factor,
like I said, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. My knowledge is extensively in baseball, clearly.
As all of ours is.
We are going to run that joke into the ground by the end of this episode.
Rob Manfred, our knowledge is in baseball. Don't let this sway you that we're talking about hockey.
Correct. So Nate, I don't know if you've watched any of Minnesota's hockey games, but the parts that I've seen, they look good. So I don't know. What's your take?
They have won 2 games and they've tied 2 games, and that seems like not the worst outcome. So I have not watched any games. It seemed like everyone was pretty down on the Wild for this year, so it's at least a somewhat surprising start. But yeah, we'll see. Pretty small sample size, so
yeah.
My big news for the NHL is that Anaheim went back to the cool logo, and that's pretty neat.
Yes.
I think the other hot news that I would say, and this goes entirely based on the very limited knowledge I had of last year, but apparently Calgary, as of right now, is just like, hey, we're good too. Like,
yeah.
When did that happen?
Just, I mean, yeah, they're 4-0 so far, but with obviously a long season. But yeah, it's just kind of surprised that they're one of the 4-0 teams at the moment.
I mean, Jets team, conveniently the Winnipeg Jets, is 3-0. So maybe that's the team I'll go to. Maybe I'll just bandwagon up.
I'll trust Canada when they win a Stanley Cup again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had a chance last year and they goofed it up.
I know.
And apparently the excuse was Florida was just better. Like, what? I mean,
they don't even have ice there.
In fact, I don't. On the flip side of that, though, I don't think Canada has hurricanes. So really, who's better? Nope. I've looked it up. That Canada hurricanes have never happened.
Hey, wait.
I dare you to fact check me.
Oh.
Hey, Google Canada hurricanes.
You can't
What does the
trust
street say,
Google.
Nate?
Let's see.
You can't ask them
When
because they got
was the
destroyed by a
last
hurricane.
in Canada, 2022.
Nope, that didn't happen. Fake news.
Hurricane Fiona made landfall in Whitehead, Nova Scotia.
Oh,
That's
like
not Canada.
That's basically America still. Sorry, the U.S.
That's Nova Scotia, Nate. That's not Canada.
Yeah, come on.
Oh,
I said Canada. Come on.
Oh, hey, look at that. In 2024, August 19th to the 20th, Hurricane Ernesto, just offshore of Newfoundland, is a Category 1 hurricane.
Nah.
Just
I don't think-
offshore.
Yeah.
Hit it.
Yeah.
Your words matter.
Correct. All right. Yeah, like I said, dare you to fact check me. Anyway, let's move on from hockey because we're getting out of sports.
Yes.
What are we on? What are we on to now?
Football.
College football.
No, well, should go NFL.
Yeah.
Let's go NFL. Let's go to the other one. The other pigskin, the sport type thingy majiggy where people kick a ball with their feet and throw it with their hands sometimes.
Egg
I'd
ball.
be concerned if they were kicking it with their hands, I'll be honest.
Be just
I
like
wouldn't.
punching it, right?
I was gonna say I'd be very curious what that would look like.
Or just slapping the ball. It doesn't matter. Anyways, Thursday night game, Niners Seahawks this past week was a pretty entertaining Thursday night game. You had a lot of points scored for, the clunkers that we have had, like we had mentioned last week, that Zach wasn't overly entertained with the Cowboys Giants kick fest on that Thursday night. I don't know why he wasn't, but I can't imagine any reason why that he would hate that.
Hey, I answered this question last week, and it has nothing to do with the Cowboys. I just like watching good football, and Thursday night football is usually not that. So, just would like to say.
Al Michaels has such a fun time, though.
Yes, he loves it. So then you had, Niners walk out of Seattle with a 36-24. 36-24 win over the Geno Smith Seahawks, and that division kind of up for grabs for whoever wants to get it at this point. Still might be the 49ers, but I don't know. All the teams are kind of okay at this point in the NFC North or NFC East. West. That was West.
Somewhere in the NFC.
In the
NFC.
All right, and then you have across the sea the London Jaguars that squared off against the Chicago Bears. And a game that I honestly couldn't have told you who was going to win because both teams are bad. The Bears are just better than the Jags, but the Jags are not that good either. I know we had texted about, and we'll get to the Cowboys in a second, of who's going to get fired first between Dougie P and Mike McCarthy this season. My bets are still going to be Dougie P because, as we heard Jared Jones speak earlier this week, that they aren't in the mood to change coaches right now. So the Cowboys just might ride out this losing season until next year.
That'd be a real shame.
Darn.
But yeah, the Jags and Dougie P are on a fast track downward. And if they weren't playing in London again this week, they probably would have fired him when they came back from London. So maybe after this next Sunday game, the Jags might pull the trigger depending on what they do.
They're playing in
against
London
the Patriots
again?
Yes, against the Patriots.
Yep.
To be honest, though, if they do end up losing that game, then yeah.
Yeah,
Doug
that's why I
EP
call
will
them
get
the
left
London,
in
the London Jaguars, because that's what they're gonna be.
More or less.
The-
Jeez,
the
is this their
NFL
third game or second?
Yeah, I think they
What
played.
the heck?
Or no, it's their second game, but they played one last year or two last year over there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And probably the year before that.
No
The
offense
UK
to
team.
Jaguars fans, but if you're a London NFL fan, I cannot for the life of me imagine that Jacksonville was your first pick. Just what?
Maybe
I mean,
the NFL's
unless they
trying to get less Florida teams. Maybe they're trying to push teams out of Florida.
I can't wait until we have an official London team in the NFL. Could you imagine?
Yeah,
What would they be called?
It might happen. The tea
I could
kettles.
see it.
I don't know. I don't know what beasts or animals that are prevalent in the England area that are worth making a scary mascot.
Yeah, it's got to be like the London tea throwers or something.
Why would you say that?
No, we threw their teammates.
Yeah, come on now.
We didn't want it. I mean, we did. We just didn't want to pay for it. All right. But anyways, the game that I think most of us were probably in tune during the noon slate was the Ravens Commanders, just because that was two high-powered offenses going at each other. And just to see how the Commanders, did against... I mean, the Ravens defense isn't that good, but just to see how they went toe-to-toe against another high-powered offense that could put up points on them as well. Ravens did win that one 30-23, but it wasn't overly... I mean, I know Zach doesn't like the Commanders being good anymore because that's like too easy.
Hey, they're the
wins.
least. They're the least of my concerns when it comes to the NFC East.
That's like two easy wins that you could have chalked up every year to your team. Now, not off like guaranteed wins anymore.
They deserve a couple wins. I mean, I thought they got their win when they got rid of Dan Snyder. I was like, cool, good job, guys. So I guess in my head, I'm like, this one I'm okay with because they got rid of him, and you can see that they're succeeding a little bit more. That's fine. I'll give them this year. If they start being good again next year, then I'm going to be salty. But that's that's next year's
probably still going to have
game.
Jaden Daniels, so they're probably still going to be good.
Well, true, but we've seen a lot in the NFL where these teams can get off to a really hot start and maybe not get. I mean, look at the Eagles. They brought in Jalen Hurts in his second year, then they went to the Super Bowl, and then have been trying to chase the dragon on that regards ever since. And clearly, I don't think they're going to do it this year either. So, is Dan Quinn going to be a flash in the pan with Washington, or is he going to have sustained success? We don't know.
Only time will tell.
There's really no way to know.
Hey, Zach might be on something.
Saying, there's really
no way to know. But then, outside of that, Bucks went to New Orleans and put up a 50 burger on the Saints. So the NFC East is now looking like it's probably going to be Tampa or Atlanta's division at this point. South. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say the East is.
I don't know.
Eagles, baby.
I don't know anything anymore.
We're a baseball podcast.
Yes, that's
first and foremost.
We're showing our intelligent NFL prowess by clearly renaming the divisions for everybody else. Yes, the NFC South will be probably between Atlanta and Tampa coming down to the wire. And when Tampa and Atlanta meet again, whenever that is, if it's anything like that Thursday night game was a couple weeks ago, it's going to be another banger of a game, especially since that one will be in Tampa this time around. But the Browns still suck.
Specifically,
they do. They do, but man, did the Eagles keep that far too close.
Well, Sirianni was acting like they just won the Super Bowl.
So apparently, I don't know if this is true, by the way. That was annoying. It's like, first of all, it would be different if it was like 46-10. and that was whatever the score was. It was crazy, but like, come on, man. As a head coach, don't even do it. Even if it was like friendly banter between fans, don't do that. Come on. Just dumb.
I mean, you can talk about your team more if you want to.
Not really. They didn't do well.
They won, and you got AJ Brown and you got Devontae Smith back. We also lost Dallas Goedert, so
yeah, and he's out for a couple weeks.
Give and take with a hammy. Yeah, give or take that. Well, Eagles won, so go Birds.
They did, and it was nice to see AJ. I guess I will talk a little bit about him, but it was nice to see AJ Brown back. He was basically the savior. Like, without him, that game probably would have been a big question mark still. To be fair to the action, like, a lot of people know that football it comes down to one or two plays. The game, like the blocked kick, the blocked field goal that turned into a touchdown, that was a big momentum swing. I mean, if you take away that, I think we would have went into. I think it would have been in halftime, 13-3 or something like that. It probably would have been a game where they probably wouldn't have actually scored a touchdown. And to the same credit of like Myles Garrett being the one that blocked the kick, turns out Myles Garrett might be good at football. So it was just one of those games, though. It's just one of those games, though, where like I watched it and I'm like, man, none of this looks good. None of it looks like, and I mean, the whole time I'm sitting there like the Eagles should be up by like 3 scores by now. And it never happened. And I'm like, I get it. Sometimes that's just football. Sometimes a team that's really, really bad just plays a lot better. They outplay their competition a little bit. They didn't necessarily look better than the Eagles. The Browns didn't, but regardless, it just seemed like a bad game. It was one of those where I was like, this is terrible. But to that point, my pick, which was the Browns staying within the -8 range, they did it. So winner, baby. On one of them. On one of my other picks, I got way wrong, I'm pretty sure. So
that is something to look at it like that,
Hey,
it's a win. You don't apologize for wins.
That's right. You don't apologize for wins. All right, that's the Eagles.
In other news, Will Levis continues to be a meme machine. After his touchdown and his little Spider-Man dance, and then took out one of the chain gang members, and Eric has to probably broke their leg or something like that when he landed on him. Not Will Levis's fault, but dude is just a meme generator in everything that he does.
Homie's just out there living his best life.
He lives. And I was watching that game and I was like, the Titans are up, and I'm like, Colts, you really don't have to do anything. All you got to do is just, because there was a drive where the Colts weren't kicking a field goal to take the lead until they got stuffed on a 4th and goal. And I'm like, just take the points and just wait for Will Levis to do something bad, because he's going to do it. And sure enough, he did, because the Titans are not good. So that I think was one of my sick games, was the Colton Titans, because that was a 20-17 Colts win in that division. AFC South is just ugh. Besides the Texans, the other 3 teams not good in the slightest. Speaking of the Texans, yeah, they went up to New England, put on a little show. We got see a little bit of Drake May in action. So Patriots might have some competent offense going forward with Drake May at the helm. Only took them 6 games to decide that Jacoby wasn't enough for them, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why drafting the 3rd QB in the 1st round and then not starting him with, I get it if you had a legit veteran in place, but Jacoby Brissett,
he can manage game well enough, and they knew they probably weren't going to be great, and gives the rookie a chance to just sit on the sidelines and kind of take in the NFL experience first, instead of throwing him on a bad team with probably a bad O-line in front of him and saying, figure it out. So
yeah, the Patriots aren't good. And again, that Jacksonville New England game this Sunday in London. I don't know. One team's got to win. I mean, well, they don't gotta win. I should say they can't tie.
On paper, it has to be Jacksonville, but I think New England wins it, honestly.
And like Jacksonville still has the offensive weapons. They're just not good at it. I don't know why. They just are.
I know this is probably a little like spiteful, hateful, whatever, but it warms my cold heart to see that Trevor Lawrence might not be the game changer in the NFL that everybody thought he was going to be.
And he was.
And I'm not even blaming him for this. Like sometimes it just doesn't work out. And this year might just be an off year. Maybe it's just not working. That happens. But, man, the amount of times that we as fans of the NFL had to hear, oh, Trevor Lawrence is going to come in and shake up the NFL, that hasn't happened. If anything, as much as I don't like Caleb Williams either, he's at least making a name for himself doing something in Chicago. I mean, granted, it might be short-lived again, but we'll see. But I don't know. I'm not too upset about Jacksonville not being good.
No.
Clemson QB track records in the NFL are not great.
No, they're not.
Darn. I'm so upset about that.
Darn. But then, Packers continue to look good with Jordan Love. I know Nate doesn't want to hear that, but...
we beat him.
You did. And you almost gave it up, but you did beat him.
But we didn't.
But you didn't. It was scary, but you didn't.
You don't apologize for wins.
You don't apologize for wins. And then you get to the afternoon slate of games. Again, the beating the Raiders, not impressive. They've been there, done that. Steelers want them. I mean, they obviously don't have an offense anymore, and we'll get to that trade in a second. There. Falcons beat the Panthers again, not impressive. Anybody can do that. Lions beating the Cowboys, not impressive. Anybody can do that.
Anymore.
No, that game.
That wasn't just they didn't just beat the Cowboys.
No, they publicly humiliated Jerry Jones
on his birthday, which just warms my heart.
What I told Zach before you got on, Nate, was me thinks that the Lions were maybe a little mad about last year.
Hey,
Speaking of the Lions, real quick, can we also bring up that gigantic podium? What was that?
Photoshopped, but whoever did that, super impressive job because it looks real.
It was huge, and at first I didn't realize it was Photoshopped, so I thought it was serious. I was like, "What are we doing?"
And I'm like, I also wouldn't put it past Dan Campbell to order a giant podium for just S's and cheese.
Right? Amazing, incredible, just awesome.
And then we can't talk about the Lions without mentioning how legs aren't supposed to work.
Yeah, for those that don't know, if your fibula area is bent in a 90-degree area angle, that's not good.
Oh, hey, not a doctor.
Are we sure?
Pretty sure legs aren't supposed to wrap around other legs like that.
Most things that are not your elbows or your knees are supposed to be straight.
Yeah.
And not bent in a 90-degree angle.
No.
So don't go look at it, and definitely don't share the video with your homies like some people did.
There's really no way to know though.
Now, I'm not saying that this video was shared amongst our group, but if it were, and if I had happened to see it, all allegedly here, what was the most surprising to me in this video was that he it was just one of those really fast freak things where like the person just came in and hit his leg so fast. And it was like, normally in football you see it because like somebody falls on it and like that. This one was just his leg was just up in the air. Not like it was up in the air and then all of a sudden somebody just comes in and hits it, and it's just like, how fast was that guy running? His legs are supposed to be pretty strong, especially if you're a pro caliber athlete. And I was like, what was that guy doing?
Maybe he needed to drink more milk. I don't know.
He needs some milk.
Again, allegedly, if we had seen this video.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
Yeah.
All
I'm not at
speculation
all-
of how this video would have gone if we had seen it.
This is
It
just what
is-
I've heard.
The funniest thing that came out of that.
I thought you were about to say it's the funniest thing you'd seen. I was like, jeez. I was not
No,
prepared for that being
The funniest
part
thing
of
that
the
came
sentence.
out of that was that, like, I mean, people saw it live, like, and then they came out and they're like, he's questionable to return. Like, I don't know.
The dude getting his
I
leg
would be
out of the
genuinely
stadium.
impressed if he had a better than 50% chance to return.
Okay, I can see why that would be funny. But also, do you think like when they're doing the sideline reports, like, oh, whoever was doing it, I didn't catch who was doing that. But do you think that they were just like behind the camera? Because I'm guessing it was just one of those that was like piped in while the broadcast was going on. Like, oh, he went back to the locker room. He's questionable to return. You think they're just sitting there like questionable? Like, why is he listed as questionable? You know what I
He
mean?
didn't even do like a doubtful return.
Again, the guy
think
with
that's
an
what
error
happened.
casted leg being carted out of the stadium was questionable.
I just love it. I love the NFL for stuff like that. Speaking of, though, what I don't love the NFL for, and by extension college football, is the awful refereeing. I'm just going to keep talking about it this week.
It's bad.
It's bad. This is terrible.
Bad. Especially the Sunday night game between the Bengals and Bills, or not Bengals, but Bengals and Giants. A lot of
Oh, I
flags.
thought you were gonna say the Bills and the Jets, because that one was just
one's
a
bad
whole,
too.
That one was just a whole laundry. Like that was the refs being like, "Oh, we got to do our laundry today," because that's all you kept seeing.
For a surprisingly entertaining game that actually was, that I didn't think it was going to be, because both teams are But yeah, Bills did beat the bad man 23-20. And the Bengals finally got a win, another win, 17-7 over the Giants, which again, not that impressive, but
They
still a
have
win.
beaten the Giants and the Panthers this year, which is just incredibly shocking for the Bengals.
When considering that there's very much a world where they are 4-1 or 5-1.
There's a world where Joe Burrow's like a top 5 guy, and
Yeah.
so T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are also top 5 guys.
And here they sit at 2-4.
Hey, I'm just gonna make a prediction, not a prediction. I'm gonna make a statement that's, I think they are still top 5 guys, but clearly the record does not show that. But I don't think it's the offense's fault. I mean, if we're being
No.
totally fair to each other, I don't think the offense has been really good for the Bengals. The defense has been abysmal. So, turns out there might be a reason here why they're so low.
Just a little bit.
Just saying.
Just a little bit. All right, then lastly, I will briefly talk about the Broncos, who decided to wait until the fourth quarter to actually do anything in their game, which don't recommend for a lot of teams to do. But that's when they just decided to pick it up. So I can't do anything about that, but they did lose to the fighting Jim Harbaugh's 23-16. Probably the biggest thing that came out of that for my game was Surtain with a concussion protocol. Well, more than likely will not play tomorrow night against the Saints in Thursday Night Football.
I
That's
thought
okay.
the biggest
Nobody
thing
else
that
is
came
playing
out of
in
that
that game.
game was that Jim Harbaugh left for a period and came back with different pants.
Yes, he did. And as we later found out that he was having like a heart episode as he was walking out of the tunnel for that game. And he went back in to make sure he was okay, and then he came back out. And then during his post-game presser, he acknowledged that he's had these. It's not AFib, but it's some sort of cardiac
arrhythmia or something, heart arrhythmia or something like that.
Yeah, heart arrhythmia episode that he's beaten twice apparently now.
I thought a heart arrhythmia was something that you lived with, like a murmur.
Yeah,
not necessarily the same thing, but I don't know. I thought that was something that
either.
is always there.
Apparently, he's beaten it twice, according to him and his cardiologist. So yeah, the start of that game was super weird because you had the concussion to Surtain, and then Jim Harbaugh went out, and you're like, this game is just going to be a weird fest, isn't it? I guess it was for the most part, but yeah, again, I don't like Denver waiting until the fourth quarter to decide that, like, hey, the offense should start doing something now. But that's when they just decided to do it. It's fine. It's whatever. The only saving grace of them playing tomorrow night is that most of the Saints are now out. Which, you have Derek Carr's out, Olave's out, Rashid's out, Taysom Hill's out. So, like, most of their offense is, like, out.
Alvin Kamara bust.
Yeah, so it's going to be Spencer Rattler and Alvin Kamara duo tomorrow for Thursday Night Football, which is probably going to be a very sicko type of game. I'm letting everybody know that now.
100%.
And this will probably come out after the results, so I apologize for what you probably will witness.
Are you telling me that you don't believe in Mason Tipton, Cedric Wilson Jr., or Bub Means?
I don't know
Which
any of
are
those
all
wide
names
receivers.
that I have heard before now.
I don't know any of those wide receivers for the Saints. The only good thing for the Broncos is we are not heavily injured on our offensive front. So you may not have heard of a lot of our names, but at least they've all been playing since game one.
That's a good start, it turns out.
Yes.
You know what?
But
And I don't want to give
the game that you don't need Surtain for anyway, since there's really no wide receiver one to guard for the Saints anymore.
So is it officially going to be Spencer Rattler though? Because
Yes.
at one point Jake Haener was playing for the Saints as
Yes.
well. He still is, like he's still on the roster, but that would be even funnier. Like they drafted Spencer Rattler just to start Jake Haener.
Yeah, their coach said, I even think before he started the game last week that he's gonna get Rattler like the next couple weeks just to see what it's like, and then
I'm pretty sure Rattler didn't have they didn't have a great game overall, but I don't think Rattler played terribly.
No, and from what I did see of that game, that halftime score was like 23-28 or something like that. So the final score is not indicative of like how much of a blowout that game looked like on the scoreboard. It wasn't like a very back and forth competitive first half between them, but yeah.
Baker went full Jameis, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
And they still won 51-20.
They still put up 51 points.
What was he doing? Like on Sunday, I had I was not able to watch much.
Baker's gonna
Baker, so that was just what. Good for him, I guess. Good for him, I suppose. Let's see.
But yeah, I apologize for what everybody might witness tomorrow night for Thursday Night Football. If it happens to be a great game, congrats. We all tuned in. If it's a sicko fest, then I apologize.
Hey, for both of those things can be true.
It could be true. It could be an ugly sicko fest, but a great game. So,
I don't know. I mean, ugly sicko fests can make for great games, just in general. not for your typical reasons, just for reasons. You know what I mean?
Now, people like us, we embrace that and we love those types of games. But
well, yeah,
I can see why.
It's not that we embrace it and love it. It's that as Nebraska fans and Big Ten fans, we were molded by this stuff.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
A game that comes down 6-3 or 9-3, absolutely is 100% a sicko game. And
like
as much as
last night's game. Did y'all see the final score of Middle Tennessee, Kennesaw State?
Oh,
I did not.
14-5.
Kennesaw State's not good. Kennesaw State's not good.
It was 7-2 at halftime.
We love safeties.
It does not get any better than that.
I really want to know the logic. We've gone off on enough tangents. We might as well just throw another in. I really want to know what the logic of why a safety is 2 points. I don't know. I don't know if you guys know that. I've just never looked it up. I've just now asked that question. I was like, why is a safety 2 points? But I mean, why not? Why not? But also on that same idea, why is a touchdown 6? Why not just be sim? I mean, at least it makes more sense than tennis.
True.
Point number 1, 15. Point number 2, 30. What?
You're right.
What are we doing?
You're right.
We're counting my 15, Zach.
Yes. All right.
It's a math exercise.
Yes. But looking ahead to the slate. So, like I said, before we even get to the noon slate on Sunday, we got to trudge through 2 sicko games before we get there. Between the Broncos and Saints on Thursday, and then the Jags Patriots Sunday morning in London. So if we can all just get through those 2 games, the slate this Sunday actually does look really good. Obviously, the biggest game on that is going to be Lions and Vikings at noon. We know their records, first matchup of the season for these teams, and obviously we know what the Vikings undefeated right now, and the Lions coming off their shellacking of Dallas. So going to be a great game up there in Mini. You have another sicko game of the Dolphins Colts. Could be fun, could not be fun. I don't know. I don't know what the Dolphins are going to be like. Joe Flacco might still be playing, so at least we have that to look forward to. Maybe. What else? Packers Texans will actually probably be a fun offensive game. With that, Zach, your game might be fun. Might be.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun in a weird way, though. I think that one has the potential to be. That one I think has the same potential to be a very sicko freako game.
Just because they play the Giants.
Well, I mean, the Giants aren't necessarily that great this year, and Philadelphia, I guess if they decide to show up and play ball, could be.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. If they play like they do again, if they play like they did against the Browns, it's probably it's either gonna be one of those games where like the score is like 42-35 or something ridiculous, where it's like no defense is played or only defense is played. I don't feel like there's gonna be much middle ground.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Falcons Seahawks will probably be a good offensive game as well. Just knowing that Kirko and Gino will probably be slinging it back and forth. The game I'm really interested in is the Titans and Bills, and only for the reason that if Josh Allen can go YOLO ball against Will Levis in YOLO ball, that could be a very quarterback entertaining game. Only Josh is the only reason that game can make it fun, is because Levis will do something.
I'm excited to see the weird positions that Buffalo's defense puts Will Levis in. I'm excited to see what meme comes out this week. But...
Yes, obviously the meme generator will do something. We know that. It's just, will Josh Allen also do it in return? And if that does, that could shape up to a very, very funny quarterback game. Could. I don't know if it will, but it could. Another sicko game, Raiders and Rams. Both. That might be a very poor offensive game, if we're going to be honest.
Cooper Kupp might be back, so the Rams might actually not be awful, but...
Might not be awful.
Might not be. The Raiders
what a
are
selling
worse.
point.
The Raiders are worse. Can't confirm. The Commanders might put up 50 on the Panthers. Might. Maybe. We'll see.
I had better than 80% chance.
Yeah, probably a really good chance.
I don't know. Vegas is only giving them 8, so...
Yeah. Then you get your Super Bowl rematch of the Chiefs and 49ers, so... Pray for a meteor, I guess. I don't know.
I'm kind of surprised that San Francisco is a 1.5 point favorite. I understand it's at home, but
it's probably the home field advantage. That's about it.
But even
the Chiefs' offense, like I had made that point earlier, I don't think their offense is that good. It's the defense for the Chiefs this year has been better.
Yeah, but I mean, still, it's the Chiefs.
Well, yeah, you're not going to count them out, but it's not like the Chiefs of the last 2 seasons where they can put up, 38 at will. They're still probably going to win because Andy Reid does magical things off of bye week, but I know there's a stat out there what his record is after bye weeks, and it's incredible.
I think we
That's
can just chalk that
Andy
up
Reid.
to very good.
Yeah, it's probably very good. And then you have a nice Sunday night game of the Jets and Steelers. The headline will be
gross.
obviously that we have not talked about is Devontae Adams getting his wish and getting traded to the Jets to play with maybe 2 years of Aaron Rodgers, and that's it. But
Probably one.
probably one.
There was a
If T.J. doesn't kill Aaron Rodgers this weekend.
somebody I think interviewed Devontae Adams after he got there, and his comment was
magically fixed.
Yeah, apparently. But no, they were asking him. His quote was something to the effect of, "I'm in a better place at New York, and the Raiders are in a better place." I'm like, one of those is objectively false. The other one is still, questionable, but one is objectively false. And I will let you guys guess what I'm talking about, but I don't think it's a secret at this point.
No, it's not a secret.
Ridiculous.
Did also forget to mention that Amari Cooper got traded from the Browns to the Bills. So congrats to Amari for getting out of that situation.
And-
To a better team.
And Cam Akers is going back to Minnesota.
Back to the Minnesota Vikings.
I understand the move, but it was, man, 2 years in a row is hilarious.
We're going to ship you out of Minnesota. Actually, we're going to get you back.
Oh, good. I still got a house out there.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he was like on our practice squad, or like I think we just cut him right going into the season. Then he signed with Houston. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Fun time.
Now he's back. Now he's back. Look at that.
And then we wrap up the slate with the doubleheader Monday night game of the Ravens at Tampa and then the Chargers in Arizona. So obviously the better game will be Baltimore and Tampa. I guess the Chargers Cardinals could be frisky fun. Maybe. Again, the element about the Chargers is it's a Jim Harbaugh team now, so like anything can happen weird wise with him. Because that's just Jim Harbaugh. So,
Kyler's last game or last chance to have a good game
before COD comes out. So if you have him in fantasy, start him. And after this, it's not going to go well.
I am gonna laugh so hard if, like, after Call of Duty does come out, though, if his like playing does take a tank. I'm sure someone's done this already, and like, there's actually a noticeable decline, but like, it would be hilarious if it shows up. Like, if he was just being really, really good up into this point, and all of a sudden he's just like, I forgot how to play football.
Yes.
Like, what? How'd that happen? Call of Duty
just did. All right. Anything else on the NFL news front, boys?
I think we're good to move on to
good on football. Another incredible slate of college football that this past weekend was. Not in terms of big upsets that happened, but just more of we had a lot of good slated gridiron games that happened. As we found out, Texas and Oklahoma was not meant to be.
A lot of upsets that should have happened, but
didn't happen, unfortunately. And we'll get to Purdue and Illinois because Illinois had no business letting Purdue back in that game, and they did. They still won, but they
ghost of 2 episodes ago, Nate saying that he didn't think Illinois is that great.
Did verify. It didn't verify in a win for Purdue, but it did verify that Illinois is sus. But yeah, Texas is good. I feel more confident in saying they'll probably win the SEC. They play Georgia this week, so like that's going to be a really good barometer to see how they do against Georgia. But like up until this point, there's nothing that has made me think that this isn't Texas is taking right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oklahoma should have been a little more competitive. And I know Oklahoma's not good this year, but like they were not good in that game at all, offensive wise. And I know that they benched their quarterback. So like I haven't really read into all of what happened with not playing Jackson Arnold or anything like that. I didn't think Arnold did that bad when I did see him play for Oklahoma this season, but I didn't think it warranted not playing him, but yeah, Texas is good, unfortunately, and I know we don't want to hear that, but it is what it is. Here we are. Before we get to that other monumental game, Penn State almost blew it in the Coliseum. They were down 20-6 at half, and then USC decided to stop playing football and let Penn State come back and win in overtime, 33-30. So Penn State escapes and beats the 4-hour stat time zone for Big Ten teams this season. Previously, Indiana was the only school to beat a Big Ten team traveling 4 time zones. So Penn State is now another winner in that category. If you haven't seen that stat, you can look it up. It's pretty funny, actually, how many Big Ten teams have lost traveling. Like, I think it's 2 or more time zones or anything like that. So it's incredible. But Penn State escapes the Coliseum with a win. What else? Oh yeah, Brian Kelly finally beats Lane Kiffin in Death Valley, which that game was super entertaining. That was a good nightcap, having that and Oregon Ohio State kind of happen at the same time. So those are 2 great games to have back to back with that. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, a lot of your chalk up games happened. Again, Cal probably should have beat Pitt, but alas.
I don't know. One that we thought might, I don't know if we call it necessarily a chalk up last week, but one that you could maybe say was a chalk up was Kansas State over Colorado.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that one looked fairly close for a while there.
I know, and I'm not making excuses for Colorado, but like not having Jimmy Horn or Travis Hunter for the rest of that game when they did get injured probably did hinder Colorado's offense a little bit. I mean, they still came back and tried to, I mean, they did take the lead against Kansas State, but, probably not having your 2 top wideouts on the offense for most of that second half was not in the game script for Colorado. But, yeah, I thought they were. Yeah, it is weird. I know. I thought Colorado would pull that off, and they almost did, but alas, Kansas State gets the win. Darn. I just wanted to be right on my pick.
Got to admit though, after our game and their first game for Colorado against NDSU and then us, I didn't foresee 4-2 for them.
No.
So the fact that they're there, right? They're 4-2 or are they 5-2?
4-2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, dang. Maybe they're better than we thought, but I don't know. Are they even into necessarily the tougher part of their schedule yet? Because that was.
I mean, it depends on what you define as tougher. I mean, they still have Utah and Okie State. I mean, a lot of the Big 12 right now is kind of, unless you're BYU or Iowa State or Texas Tech, is kind of like the middle ground, or I guess Kansas State, like the 2-3 loss conference. So BYU and Iowa State are your only ranked teams right now. But
tell your friends about 5-1 Arizona State being led by Jeff Sims.
Yes, we do have to bring. Here we go. Arizona State did announce that Jeff Sims will be their starting quarterback for at least the next couple games. So that's something.
I'm sure nothing can go wrong there.
Nope. Why would you say that, Zach?
No reason.
No historical.
No reason.
Back on? No.
Nope. None at all.
Nothing at all.
Just a gut feeling, honestly.
You're probably right about that. You are probably right about that.
Hey, you know what? Like I always say, I'm fine with being proven wrong, but gonna have to prove me wrong.
Don't think you're gonna be proven wrong.
Yeah, I think 2 of my more surprising games were blowouts by Iowa and Wisconsin.
Iowa, unfortunately, has a really good running game. Stop me if you've heard that before.
Yep.
What they do.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing. They've had a really good running game the last few years. The problem wasn't that they had it. It was that they had it and didn't use it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you guys got this really good running back. You should give him the ball and have him run it. What's that? A 30-yard pass downfield? You got it.
Yeah, they're Cade McNamara, 8 for 14 for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Good for
Yeah.
him.
Just
Good for
a
him.
Quarterbacking masterclass.
As most many would say. Many would say that.
I think the streets might be saying it too.
Mm. We
Yeah,
don't disrespect the
I have
streets.
no idea what Wisconsin beating Rutgers by 35 means.
I have no idea what that means either. Absolutely. I could not gauge what that means for Wisconsin. I can't gauge what that means for Rutgers. I don't know.
I think I'm concerned, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't really know either.
I mean, I don't know. You go back to our game though too, and it was 100 some odd degrees on the field, and it was windy as all get out. I think at a certain point, I don't think either team, Rutgers or Nebraska, was going to really play well that day. So 14-7, I think, is a lot more indicative on field conditions or just conditions in general, as opposed to the actual state of the teams. But
Right.
of course, we say that now with the win under our belt, but also
Obviously.
but Rutgers only scoring 7, and then Wisconsin, who has at this point has been a big
they
question
only
mark
scored
if they're
7 against
good.
Wisconsin too.
So I don't know. It's weird because Wisconsin could be suddenly good now, or at least decent, which was not expected because their quarterback went down at the beginning of the year. So weird.
Thankfully, they still get to play Oregon and Penn State later this season, so that's good for them. And Nebraska, you're right.
I still think that'll be a good game.
Yeah,
Thankfully,
I mean, we got that going for us, so
yeah,
we don't have to worry about it too much. Yeah, thankfully,
Thankfully.
Jack, obviously.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm
we will
super
get
jazzed.
we'll get to the game that we probably all watched and discussed. That Dan Laney's probably a genius, right?
Yeah, obviously.
I don't like the guy, but
whether he will ever admit that he purposely put a 12th man out there to get the penalty for knowing the loophole in the rules, he'll never admit it. But when he was asked about it, he kind of had a grin on his face when he answered it at his Monday presser. So
I thought he did admit it.
Well, he kind of nonchalantly admitted it, but he didn't like full out say like, "Yeah, we did it on purpose."
Oh, I guess that was what I.
It was more. It was he phrased it more of like, "Yeah, like these are situational football things that we have practiced before." So like he kind of did answer it, but he also didn't answer it at the same time. But
well, I'm probably gonna give some knowledge here, but I would imagine if they practice these things, that they saw the opportunity and then probably did it on purpose. There might be some logic behind that.
There might be some logic, and we have to talk about what Will Howard was doing on that last play, right?
I don't think he even knows.
No.
The monkey with the symbols was just vibing in his head,
going as he was taking off downfield with like 2 seconds left. Thinking,
totally go be a hero. And
I fall down, clock stop, right? No, I do not. Not when you're not past the first down line.
It might. You just to try to find out, I guess.
And he did, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I was not in front of a TV, but I was keeping up on my phone, just a little StatCast thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there, I was like, oh, wow, this is going to come down. So, obviously, at one point, I was like, I feel like they should try and kick a field goal. I know it's going to be a long field goal, but they might as well try and kick it because it's down to 12 seconds or whatever it was. And then the next thing I saw, it went backwards. I'm like, okay. Because weren't they closer? Weren't they, like, fairly close at one point? It was still longer, but not, like, impossibly long. And then all of a sudden, they had whatever the penalty was, which took them way back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they had the OPI, which took them way back. And so then they're at the 50 or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, they got 12 seconds. It's Ohio State. They'll probably just do a couple quick outs and get down to a field goal spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden the game goes final. And I'm like, what happened? I was like, what just happened?
Go to Twitter.
Yeah. And I was like, what? And so then, I looked at Twitter real quick. And
See
I was
Will
like,
Howard with his helmet.
It's like, that's almost as bad as the fourth down FAU spike from years ago at this point.
Yes.
But
Yes.
wasn't that Carl Pelini that did that?
Ooh. That's a name I haven't heard in quite some time.
Oh my god, that one was so funny.
Speaking of Carl Pelini, believe it or not, I saw this article yesterday. He's like a head coach at a Youngstown high school right now. He got sucker punched in the face by a parent's dad, like after one of their games on this past Friday.
Why?
It had to do something there. The article mentioned like in the post game, they were all in the locker room, and one of the parents' dad came up and was like yelling at Pelini for it had to have been either like getting into a fight with one of the players' sons or something like that. And next thing you know, he just got sucker punched in the face.
Love it.
Huh.
So
Remind me not to go to Youngstown High School.
yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. So thanks
What
for
are you
bringing
doing?
up Pelini.
What are you doing? Not taking in a Youngstown, Ohio or Youngstown high school game. Good
Yeah.
lord. People getting cold cocked left and right over here.
I didn't hear no bell.
Just what funny.
All
All right.
right. With that, it's time to preview the Hoosiers of Indiana. So,
Right,
big noon kickoff. 11 a.m. here, 9 a.m. for Nate.
That's a true morning beer for that guy. That is straight up.
You got
first thing in the morning. Crap.
First thing in the morning. You got 6-0, number 16 Indiana hosting your 5-1 Nebraska Cornhuskers on Big Noon kickoff. Just Gus Johnson, Joe Cloud will be on the call for all those lovely people that want to hear Gus yell about Maserati Marv. There's no Maserati Marvs, not in this game. But yeah, it's a big game for Nebraska. Nebraska obviously will be going in as an underdog, and I think that does work to their advantage. I think a lot of this game and a lot of this hype is going to be around Indiana and not so much on Nebraska. And I think that works very well in Nebraska's favor for this game. Because generally when you go into these games, I've seen Nebraska does not fare well in big time primetime games. But I think, we go to those games that are against like teams like Michigan and Ohio State that are used to this attention and are used to this national program attention, where someone like Indiana, that's a basketball school, is not used to this from a football perspective at all. So I think it works well to Nebraska's advantage to kind of buy into the underdog role of like, hey, all this attention is going to be on Indiana. It's going to be on Cignetti. It's going to be on these guys because Indiana's 6-0. It's not a traditional powerhouse football school that's making an undefeated run right now. So I think Nebraska needs to hone in on that and use that to its advantage. But, a lot of this game is going to come down to Nebraska's defense being able to stop Indiana's offense. And I think they can do that. Obviously, a lot of the talk is Indiana really hasn't played anybody up until this point, and they haven't. I mean, you look at their schedule, toughest team they probably played is maybe Maryland or Northwestern, and that's just based on their defensive rankings. All of the games have been double score wins, but in terms of the past two games that Indiana's played, they probably have struggled more when they get into Big Ten play versus playing a cupcake non-conference schedule. So they haven't seen a defensive front like Nebraska. They haven't seen a defense like Nebraska's all season from their offensive standpoint. Now, I'm not saying that Indiana's offense is bad by any means because they very much are very good. Curtis Rourke is probably one of the top quarterbacks in the conference right now, probably top 10 nationally or close to that, maybe top 15 nationally. He's really good, 14 touchdowns, 2 picks on the season for him right now. And a lot of what Cignetti brought over from James Madison are these James Madison guys. If you don't really know about their new head coach or anything like that, James Madison was a wagon last year because of Cignetti and the the guys that he played there for. So he brought them all over to Indiana. But Indiana's got a lot of offensive weapons, both quarterback, receiver, running backs. I mean, they just spread the ball out, and they're really good on offense. So Nebraska, probably the closest equivalent in terms of talent that they've seen is Colorado. And I know we kicked Colorado's butt, but their offensive line is probably going to be better than Colorado's offensive line was. So this game is going to come down to, how does Nebraska's defense fare against Indiana's offense? And can Nebraska's offense kind of pick up the slack that it's been having the past couple the games against Purdue and Rutgers? Can they just have an all-around complete game and not have to worry about, waiting until the second or third quarter to kind of pick up the slack, or using everything in the first half and they're just coming out flat-footed in the second half? And as much as we want to talk about how the Nebraska defense did against Illinois, Nebraska very much had all of those offensive chances to win the Illinois game. Talent-wise, they're going to see the equivalent of Colorado, but I think how balanced of a defense or an offense that they're going to play is going to be closer to Illinois, is Indiana's offense. So it's going to be a good game. I think a lot of Nebraska's strengths match up against a lot of Indiana's strengths, and so on and so forth. So it should be a really good powerhouse football game, in terms of what Nebraska's good at versus what Indiana's good at on both sides of the ball. So with that, obviously, we need to not rely on special teams this game, but we're going to have to. And I'm very interested to see after this bye week what's been changed, what's been fixed from that aspect. But yeah, you guys, what do we think about this matchup?
I'm not worried about it.
Neither am I.
I'm only slightly worried about it because these guys kind of remind me of, not a great comparison, but I think they remind me a little bit of like Colorado, where they have the ability as an offense. Indiana has the ability as an offense to really spread it out and go down the field. Obviously noted by their high scoring games, and also their quarterback is just really good. So is ours, but obviously I'm a little biased on ours. But yeah, to that point, I think you're right. I think this is going to be a real test of Indiana's. I think our defense is pretty stout this year. We've had a couple mishaps, but the Rutgers game, I think, proved that our defense is the unit that we lean on, because the offense is either still trying to figure things out or just was having an off day or something, but the defense held on and made the plays at the end that they needed to. But also, I think something that I'm taking away from this, because I really don't know. This is just one of those games where it's like, it's hard to really plan for, I guess, as like somebody that's trying to figure out what they need to do. If I was in a coaching position, I'd be like, I don't know, really, other than just keep doing what we've been doing. So yeah, that's kind of one of my keys, is just go and take care of business. Offense needs to play better, but I am glad that we're also not ranked. I know we all kind of agreed on that point, but I'm glad that, I am glad that Indiana's ranked over us for the attention that's going to bring for them. But I'm glad that we aren't ranked, in the sense that don't know if we're a top 25 team personally. We have not played we haven't played a full game like a top 25 team. I think we're close. I think we have the talent to be a top 20 team, if I'm being honest. But this is the game where, after a bye week, especially, this is the game where the team comes out and says, "Hey, now we're going to play a full 4 quarters. Special teams, hopefully does their thing well enough that that it doesn't come down to us having to trust everything that they do." Obviously, Brian Buschini helped us out tremendously against Rutgers. I'm hoping that he's healed up and that we can lean on him as we need to, where we need to. Also, Brian Buschini getting a black shirt. That was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, in my head, this is kind of one of those, I think having us be an underdog is a good thing. Makes the guys, want to play harder to knock off a ranked opponent, but also at this point it becomes more about just go play your game. Don't worry about the ranking.
Mhm.
Go play the game to prove that you should be ranked, which would be this one. And then in my head, that to me is a perfect point for the coaches to be like, hey, we're not ranked. And I don't know, Rule probably is a better way of saying it, but we're not ranked. That's good. That means you can focus on this week on just playing the game the way you know how. So yeah, it's a tough game though. I mean, it really is. I'll give it to you, Nate.
It's a really good matchup, I think, for Nebraska. Obviously none of us knew before the season started that we'd be going into this game right before Ohio State thinking, oh, this is going to be, a cakewalk just to get into the Ohio State game and go get slacked in Columbus. But, it's a really good test. And I think it is, I think of it as like a tune-up game to Ohio State. And Ohio State is obviously very talented, but, how they looked against Oregon, I'm not as concerned about Ohio State as I was probably at the beginning of the season either. There's definitely weaknesses on Ohio State's, offense, defense that I think Nebraska can exploit, but
there's chinks in the armor for Ohio State now.
There are. But yeah, it is a really good matchup for Nebraska. And like I said, a lot of the strengths on both sides of the ball are going to come toe to toe, and it's going to come down to the line play, just like we said against Colorado. It's can Nebraska's defensive line just create pressure and create havoc on Rourke and make him kind of think and get him out of the pocket. He is a scrambler, so getting him out of the pocket might not be the best idea, but can you just maybe speed up some of those decisions, speed up those passes, just get him to, not make the wisest decisions, just getting in the backfield. So that, and our secondary, depending on if Tommy Hill's going to be back. I hope things have been better during the bye week for Tommy Hill, and he's well rested. We can finally see him play a full game again. But, if not, Sierra Wright has stepped up big time in his place, just from the Rutgers game and Purdue game and everything. So it's gonna be a fun matchup. But yeah, over to you, Nate.
I don't have any terribly profound thoughts on it. I don't know. I don't think Indiana is as good as people think, and I also don't think Nebraska is as good as I think they are. So I ultimately,
both are true.
Realistically, it's probably going to be another Illinois type game where it's just kind of close throughout, down to the wire. Optimistically, I like to think that Nebraska's defense is probably better than anything Indiana has seen so far this year, and they're going to make life pretty difficult for them. So realistically, I think it'll be probably, one score game, plus or minus either way. I think it'll be, on paper, should be a kind of, as you guys said, good matchup of, strengths on both sides of the ball, just going against each other, seeing which one is, just is better, flat out. But yeah, optimistically, I think there's a window where our defense makes their lives hell all day, and our offense figures out how to move the ball a little better than they did against Rutgers. So, yeah.
That's what I'm interested in terms of our offense, is just seeing the reset that they've had over the bye week, and Dylan has probably sat down, film with the coordinators, everything. It's like, all right, 6 games in, what has he done well? What does he need to work on? So on and so forth. And I think the bye week came at a really good time for Nebraska, like straight smack dab in the middle. 6 games through, you got 6 more to go. What have we done well? What do we need to work on the offense? And obviously we can nitpick, the running game needs to be better. Wide receivers probably need to create more space and get better, so on and so forth. But yeah, just seeing those adjustments that we're going to see on the offensive side, and Dylan's going to make those adjustments. I mean, we know what he can be and, what he can do. It's, getting over the mentality of, all right, if we make a mistake, you can still come out and, fix that mistake and do it better next time. And Dylan knows that. I mean, he's got a good support staff and coaching staff around him to tell him that. So, yeah, like you said, Nate, I'm not worried. I'm cautiously optimistic that Nebraska can and will win this game.
I think they'll at the very least be in position to
Yeah.
win the game, and I mean that whether Indiana is does look like a top 16 team or not, it's good to be at least in the proximity of a top 16 team there. So, I mean that's a positive in my book. I kind of touching on Ohio State. I'm a little interested to see how everything, like, obviously you don't want to overlook opponents or look a week ahead, but I feel like this, if Nebraska can win this game, will be the difference between whether the Ohio State game is close or not.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is Ohio State's going to be coming off a bye, so
yeah, that a little unfortunate timing for us, but they also have 2 weeks to sit and think about losing to Oregon. So
that's true. They do.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a world where they come out flat-footed. And the murmurs start to happen in the old Buckeye Stadium. If does Ryan Day need to be fired? No, he won't be, unless they lose to Michigan again. That would be hilarious. But
if that happens this year, I think Ryan Day is 100% fired. Just saying.
He'd be on an extremely hot seat.
He already is.
All that to say,
sure.
I don't know that there's a whole lot of, with Nebraska not being in the top 25, that pressure isn't necessarily there, but I feel
It's
like
a good
there's
thing.
some background pressure to, like, you got to perform here if you want to have a chance next week. So.
Yeah, and it's good that, like, rules embrace both sides of, we want the national media games, like we want the big games, you want the primetime games, because these are the matchups that you do want to play in as a kid, as a coach. Like, these are the games that you want to play in. At the same time, it's also a good thing that all the focus will not be on Nebraska. At the same time, it's going to be on Indiana and their story. And Nebraska's just going to be sitting here like, hey, we want to be to that point. We want people talking about us. So let's go out there and let's prove it. Let's go take that game and let's make them talk about us instead. So I 100% see Matt Rule doing that as a motivator too. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does, because that's easily something that's up his alley that he will do. But
sounds like it's now time for the hard part, though.
The predictions part?
Score predictions.
And I can go both ways with what I want to predict. I'm gonna go 35-32 Nebraska. I don't have it in my heart to pick Indiana as much as I want to. Just to be right, and more or less saying that way.
Fair enough.
I think I'm going to go 43-42 Nebraska. We're gonna win it on a 2-point conversion at the end.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
You're right.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, we don't trust our kickers. All right. Well, you guys are thinking it's going to be a high-scoring game. I am opposite. I think our defense is really going to give Indiana some fits. They're still going to score. They're good, but I think we're going to give them fits. But I also think I think our offense is going to be rested well enough that I think it could be higher scoring, but I don't know. So I'm going to go 24-21 Nebraska.
Okay.
I don't know. There's just something about this game that's just telling me, like, I don't foresee it being as high scoring.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see. Further scoreboard games around the college football slate this weekend. You got Oregon and Purdue on Friday night, which in West Lafayette.
Yeah.
That could spell a very sleepy trap game for Oregon. Ohio State's fell into that trap before, so it very much could happen again on Friday night, or it might not. But I will be very intrigued to watch that game. Obviously, the big notable games this weekend are going to be Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas and Georgia, which rightfully so. We didn't think Alabama, Tennessee would be 7-11 at this point, but here we are. One barely atop. I thought they would be, where like Texas and Georgia are like 1 versus 3 instead of 7 versus 11. But those are going to be your primer top games, obviously besides our game because big noon Fox. With that,
and Michigan, Illinois,
is going to be a really good one too. Yeah. But yeah, outside, I mean, those are your big top 25 matchup games this weekend. Obviously, there's probably going to be other upsets in there, but in terms of what's on paper right now, I mean, Arkansas LSU could be pretty good. Arkansas coming off that Tennessee win, so that's at Arkansas, so Brian Kelly might be walking into a trap game as well. Could be. We'll see.
It'll be interesting to see Clemson, Virginia too. I think.
Yes.
See if Clemson's actually. Because they've been playing well since that Georgia loss, but
yes,
yeah, Virginia is at least above 500, so we'll see.
Yeah. We haven't talked about that. Army and Navy are both ranked for the first time since 1960,
as they should be,
and both undefeated.
They also look really good.
I love the idea that the Army-Navy game could have playoff implications.
Yes.
In the season.
So the possible scenario is they could both meet in the championship game prior to the college football rankings coming out. College football rankings come out, and then after that, they could play the Army-Navy traditional game again. So they could play each other twice even before the playoffs happen. And one of them or either of them could get into the playoffs. Probably only one of them. But
could you imagine a third meeting in the playoffs?
Yes. There's a world that scenario happens where they meet in the championship game, the playoff rankings come out, and then they play again the week after for the annual Army-Navy game. And then based on what that could happen, that could have influence on the rankings as well. So
I need it.
Very, very fun scenario that's shaping up if they continue on this path.
I'm also super excited so Texas has Georgia this weekend, and then they go to Vandy the weekend after. I would like to just put that out into the universe for to do whatever they like with it.
At this rate, if Vandy's not careful, they're going to run out of goalposts. So they might want to.
That's a good problem to have. I feel like.
I mean, yeah, it is. It is, but also I think goalposts are probably pretty spendy.
Only $100,000.
Only really?
I think that's what the cost was, or that's the SEC fine.
And
sorry.
If honest, if you're giving $100,000 for that, you should be giving $100,000 to the Sportsball Patreon fund.
That's right.
Circle.
We gotta get that those two MLB teams somehow.
You think we forgot about that first segment? No, sir.
We didn't.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
All right, well, we have 2 segments left, but before we get to the last one, who are we firing into the sun this week, boys?
Nebraska had an uneventful bye week, which is good. Very good to have it uneventful.
Remember, though, technically Nate wasn't here last week when we brought this back. So it can be anybody. It doesn't have to be Nebraska specific at this point.
I think all of our answers were everybody but Brian Buscini on the special teams.
Yeah, I can get behind
that. but then we had to give another one. I felt it was unfair because we're all like, oh, the special teams. Like I felt like that was unfair. We had to give another one. So in this case, Nebraska didn't have anything. So in this case, I am just gonna start with mine then because I had this one wrapped up for a while. I'm gonna go with the NFL and the idea of continuing to do London games. Can we just stop?
They're trying to make it a global sport, Zach.
I get it, but it's not.
Hey, the Jets Vikings was a decent game.
The Vikings.
It was.
That was a good game. It was, but it was like.
But you didn't play the London Jags, though.
But like, also, the Jets. Really, like, come on. The Vikings being there was fine. And I guess this last game was good if you had Caleb Williams on your fantasy team, which I did on one of my other ones. But like, regardless, the NFL can get fired into the sun because stop trying to make London happen. It's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to happen, at least to the point where it's going to see any real surgence. But what do I know? On to you guys.
I didn't really think about this as much.
Wow, I come prepared every week.
I'm gonna say the Avalanche goalies into the sun for now, until they figure it out.
That one actually, yeah, that fits. I like that.
I am gonna go with the entire NCAA for
All of it,
allowing the Big Ten and SEC to have talks about separate super conference stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah. No,
I forgot that happened this week too.
That's gonna be a hard pass.
Not a big fan of that.
I forgot that happened this week.
All right. Well, let's get on to the exciting part. Let's get our picks.
All right. So,
and remember, we're starting now. Got to throw it out there before we get too far. Disclaimer:
yes.
None of us are gambling experts. Do not take our gambling advice as anything more than just entertainment. But we're doing picks now. So if you have a gambler, 1-800-GAMBLER.
1-800.
Onward.
Considered an expert if I'm really good at it.
True. I'm gonna say Michigan beats Illinois. I don't want to say Michigan will win, but I think they will go into Champaign and beat Illinois. If Illinois did not give up that lead to Purdue like they did last week, I would say Illinois would win that game. But why did they blow a 27-point lead to Purdue and almost lose? But yeah,
why not?
I think the secure pick is and Michigan's a 3.5-point favorite too. So I will take Michigan over Illinois for my. Well, you guys can go because I'm looking for my sick pick yet. But if you guys have a for sure pick that you want to use right now, go ahead.
Well, I will take it because I've got this one locked and loaded, and it's a funny one because I wanted to do it last week and they were on a bye week. I'm taking Tulane as a 22-point favorite.
Oh hell yeah!
Give me that one. That's my gimme. That's not my sick. That is my gimme pick right there. Tulane has been on fire.
All right,
that's my backup team. Go Green Wave, baby.
I mean, Andy's a 26-point favorite to Ball State.
Yeah.
At one point that would have looked ridiculous.
Maryland might beat USC. USC is a 7-point favorite, but Maryland might beat USC. Might. USC did blow that lead, and I don't think they're as good.
I feel like we forgot to inform Nate on what these. This pick is just like what you feel solid in. It doesn't have to be a crazy like out of the ballpark pick.
That's your sick pick.
I'll go somewhat out of the ballpark. I'm gonna say that North Dakota State beats South Dakota State for the first time since 2019.
Okay.
Wins the Dakota marker.
Okay.
And that's your gimme?
That is my pick of the week.
Oh, you get one more.
I have an even sicker pick for.
Okay. Good.
Don't you worry.
Good. Good.
If Nate and I's brain are thinking the same way, I'm also thinking the same thing.
Well, it's back to you though, Andy. So you might get the chance to steal it.
If I'm thinking what he's thinking,
do it. Don't you do it.
Are you thinking about old Amigos boy?
Don't you do it, Andy.
I think he is.
No.
Because Nate and I saw the same game. No, I'll let you have Amigos boy.
No, you got it.
I knew you looked at that game.
I don't.
And I go, "There's
I
no
don't
way
know that
he's
I want
picking
to
this."
tie my name to that wagon. Honestly,
I mean, why not?
I'll take Arizona State as the 5-point dog to Cincinnati.
Oh my God,
Love
we're
it.
doing it. Oh my
Love it.
goodness. No.
The Jeff Sim
way.
experience lives on.
You know what? That's fine. I feel like mine's
I-
just as dirty.
The Arizona State Nebraska bowl game is going to go so.
It could happen.
All right.
Arizona State's
Well,
5-1.
oh, that's right. That's right. I was second. So Nate has time to think of his sick pick.
I already got my.
Oh, sorry,
Don't
Andy.
you
Then.
worry.
All right. Well, I've got
I
mine.
said
So
it, yeah.
all right, I will go for mine then. I feel like this one's just as bad, but it's because it's the NFL. It's like it's not as bad because anything can happen. Give me Tennessee as a 9. Give me Tennessee as the 9-point underdog. Something
Okay.
weird's gonna happen in that game. I swear to you, that's gonna be the game. I don't think Tennessee wins, but what I do think they keep it somehow close, and everybody's gonna be like, "How? How did you do that?" That's my
All
pick.
right.
It's my sick pick of the week.
I think my sick pick of the week is going to be Tennessee over Alabama.
Okay.
Alabama's 3-point favorite. I think Tennessee pulls the old switcheroo on them.
That was my
Okay.
second one, honestly. I was like, I that one I was actually almost about to be my gimme pick because I was like, I don't know. I think Tennessee has a rebound,
Yep.
and they play really well against Alabama. So
Alabama's just looked. I mean, obviously they lost to Georgia, but they didn't look that great against South Carolina last week. So
you know who Tennessee hasn't lost to though? Vanderbilt. So
That's also true. Also very, very, very true.
so I'm right.
All right.
Is that it? Are we?
Yep,
Did we
I
wrap
think
it?
that's it, boys.
All right.
Yours by 90, as always.
Scurred by 90. Formula One's back this weekend. Woohoo for me.
Woohoo for
big cars going.
Big
Brr.
cars go burr.
big cars go. Brr.
They are like I know like this sounds dumb because cars are generally very large, but like Formula One cars
They
are
go burr.
huge. Yeah, so they do go burr. Well, it's more of like a but point stand. They're
We
very
also
loud.
didn't touch on it, but probably I'd imagine by the time we're recording next week, the NBA season will be kicked off.
It will be.
Tuesday, October 22nd.
When's that officially start? Is that next like Tuesday?
Tuesday. Yep. Timberwolves, Lakers, and Knicks Celtics.
Basketball season will be
Nice.
here.
We're gonna have all sorts of sports to talk about then.
We will.
Can't wait.
All right.
All right, boys.
So yes, like I said, we will post links to our Patreon and Kickstarter to buy our MLB teams, respectively.
Yeah,
So-
hopefully by the time we're recording next week, we will be owners of 2 new MLB teams, and
Tell you what.
we appreciate
if
your
we become-
contributions.
If the three of us become multi-billionaires in the next week, then we did something right. And then we
Yeah.
have to follow up on buying an MLB team. We at least have to try.
We are just asking for very small loans of $6 billion, respectively. 7 billion. Sorry, 7 billion.
Well, I think at
respectively.
this point we just have to shoot the moon and go like 10. If we can get like 10 billion, we're
Well,
set.
Yeah, because we might have to double it if we're buying 2 teams. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
true.
you're right. So 10 ballpark range, 10 to 20 billion, whatever
Yeah.
your generous heart wants to give you, wants to give us in that range. Feel free to do so.
Runs
if we
up
just have 10
Wall
people-
Street.
Yeah, if we just have 10 people give us $1 billion. That's all we need. You know.
Yeah.
So
We're such smart business moguls.
we are. I don't know why people don't come to us more for these ideas.
Straight up,
They're
honestly.
about to.
Our literal business sense is, hey guys, we need $1 billion. How do we get it?
Give
You
us
just go
money.
get it.
Yeah,
You just go get it.
and give it to us.
Take
and
the
then
money
we'll
from
do it.
them. Give it to us.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I'm Andy. That is Nate, and that is Zach. Signing off because we are your source for sports.